Uganda is a lovely place. It's an interesting world. I suggest you to go visit Uganda. Yeah, if you're, from America, from the Caribbeans, you need to go visit Uganda. You definitely need to go see that place. They are the partiest people I've seen in Africa. They party more than you, trust me. You see them on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they party. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They don't care on a Sunday, 3 o'clock in the morning. They are still jamming and going to work early in the morning the next day. Very pleasant place. I've had some of the best time ever. If you're African and you're looking into seeing to the next African country and perhaps explore, which I think it's a beautiful thing, go check Uganda. They call it the Pearl of Africa. Amazing. Now, there's something I need to tell you. In life, you hear some people say you gotta be strong. You need to speak your mind, speak your voice. Don't be afraid to speak your mind, okay? Do not let anybody stop you from speaking your mind. As much as I believe speaking your mind is very, very good, you also need to know when to start speaking your mind. You cannot just start speaking your mind, especially in situations where you are the weak person. Sometimes speaking your mind could get you in trouble. In a big trouble, bigger trouble than you could have been if you had shut your mouth up. Sometimes you actually need to shut your mouth until you get to a point where you learn. You know, let's say you're learning from somebody, you're working for somebody who's not necessarily a nice person or disrespectful. Do you have to speak your mind immediately? Well, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can. But that means you're not going to have a job. Sometimes you do not speak your mind until you get to learn from that person. Until you can be independent, until you have an option, then you can speak your mind. So I think it's very interesting to be wise. Speak your mind when you can speak your mind. Okay? All right. So we're going to look into this president, African president from Uganda, Yoweri Museveni. Very interesting figure. He says some of the most interesting things and some of the most craziest things. We're going to look into it now and make a comment right after. Okay? Let's go.
Taking Uganda a step backwards, that you are not protecting the freedoms and the rights and the choices of the Ugandan people. So how do you respond to that? And specifically, President Obama has said he was deeply disappointed by Uganda's move and says that it would complicate US-Uganda relations. I've listened to everything that you've said in the statement. So how would you respond to that? And does it worry you? And have you spoken directly to President Obama about this?
Well, we have been disappointed for a long time by the conduct of the West, the way you conduct yourselves there. But we just keep quiet. We just see how you do things, how the families, how they are organized, in all these things. We see them, we keep quiet.
Okay, so just to give you context, President Obama had the comments to make about Uganda's choice of disallowing men and men to be together. You get what I'm trying to say. They voted a law about it. They were going to punish people who were going to do it after leaders of many communities of Uganda came together and the parliament passed a law. So Barack Obama made a speech saying that he was taking Uganda backward by that mentality.
We may disagree about gay marriage, but surely we can agree that it is unconscionable to target gays and lesbians for who they are, whether it's here in the United States or more extremely in odious laws that are being proposed most recently in Uganda.
And that is how he made the comment saying, well, I've also been disappointed about Western nations for a long time. You know, we see how you structure your families, we see how you do things, and we just keep quiet. Let's continue.
We never comment because it's not our country. Maybe you like it. So, since there's now an attempt at social imperialism to impose social values of one group on our society, then our disappointment is now exacerbated because we are sorry to see that you live the way you live. But we keep quiet about it. Now you say we must also live like us. That's why we say no. We say no. And am I worried? Not at all. We should be worried about what? Because to tango needs two people to dance. If the West doesn't want to work with us because of homosexuals, then we have enough space here to live by ourselves and do business with other people.
So you must remember here that Museveni, many years ago, was a very good friend of America, okay? So he didn't voice himself. He didn't express himself this way many years ago. Like I said earlier, sometimes you need to lay low until you sit down, until you're strong enough, then you can start speaking out your mind. Let's go to the next one.
I'm tired of all these stories. These neo-colonial civil servants who have been holding us back, I have put my foot down. Say, I don't want to hear those stories. And Uganda is developing and it will develop because I don't entertain that nonsense anymore. I banned the export of minerals from Uganda. So when I banned them, they are flocking in now. They have opened 7 gold refineries.
So this is very interesting. He said he had banned export of raw minerals out of Uganda. And after he did that, they came and opened processing plants in Uganda. He's talking about private sector, okay? One of the biggest problems of Africa is people like to export things raw. They export timber raw to Dubai. Then Dubai sells them furniture. Can you believe that? Africa is the best timber in the world. They export, you're talking about Cameroon, Gabon, and some of these countries. They export timber to these European and Western nation countries. Then Dubai sells them furniture at a very high price. Unbelievable. So the president of Uganda said, I'm not exporting any raw materials anymore. We're done with that. Okay? And after he did that, all those private sector people came to Uganda to open processing plant. Processing plant, obviously, that gives Ugandans opportunities to get jobs, to get money movement, to get expertise on how to function a processing plant. Isn't that beautiful? Let's go to the next one.
If the Parliament passes this legislation pushing for life imprisonment for homosexuality, will you block that legislation?
It will depend what the life sentence is for. Is it for promotion, for instance, recruiting young children into that practice by offering money? That's where the problem is. Inducement, manipulating, using money which they collect from the West. That's what I would also not like.
So basically, Mr. Museveni is talking about the law that they had voted, prohibiting men from being with other men. So the law said if you go and recruit people in Uganda into becoming like you, meaning, liking other men, they're going to throw you in jail. Okay, and if you happen to have that disease, that disease that doesn't have a cure, and you go and have, toof, pluff, fluff, you go and have toof with somebody and you contaminate them, you're going to be sentenced to death. That's the law in Uganda. Now, he's just explaining to the journalist, it's very, very, very provocative journalist, this is the law. If you go recruiting people, if you bring money to children, because apparently, as per what we understand here, people are getting money from organization across the world to encourage those practices in different places. They call it support. Now, Uganda has restricted that. Should we condemn him or should we respect their law? Because apparently every country has its law, right? In Saudi Arabia, they don't authorize that. But do they put pressure on Saudi Arabia? No, they don't. They don't put pressure on Saudi Arabia. Because of what? Because of the oil, the power. They need Saudi Arabia as an ally. But you know what? Uganda is a small little African country. You can go put pressure on them and tell them what to do. That's what it is. Let's go to the next one.
The mouth is for eating. The mouth is for eating. Okuria, cham. The mouth is for eating, not for sex. We know the address of sex. We know where sex is. No, we have been hearing about it, but we don't talk about it. If people are doing it, maybe let's leave them alone. Let's deal with the electricity, the roads. There's no argument. But since they insist, so we'll have now to come out and say, please. Maybe this is also a good opportunity, because sometimes I don't want to divert our people in some of these social, cultural issues. But this is a good time. Now, this is not sex. This is eating. Mouth is for eating. It's not for sex.
The mouth is for eating. Do you agree with President Museveni? Let me know how you feel about that. Next one.
We want to trade with Russia. We want to trade with all countries of the world. We don't believe in being enemies of somebody's enemy. No, we want to make our own enemies, not fight other people's enemies. This is our doctrine. When there was the Cold War, one day they asked me a question. Are you pro-East or pro-West? I said, you must think I am an idiot. Why do you think my main job is to be pro somebody? I am pro myself. And I deal with all other people according to how they relate with my own interests. These people think we are stupid. Such a question is an idiotic question. It's not my job to be pro-East or pro-West. I am pro myself. And I deal with people according to how they relate with me.
Again, very clear. Mr. Museveni says, are you pro-East or pro-West? No, I'm pro myself. Just because you have an enemy, should your enemy become mine? You know, I remember Nelson Mandela being asked a question, why are you dealing with Gaddafi? Okay?
Of human rights, and if so, would you want a Gaddafi or an Arafat or a Castro to be a future president of South Africa?
One of the mistakes which some political analysts make is to think that their enemies should be our enemies.
Why are you dealing with Gaddafi? Because he's a criminal, you know? And why are you dealing with Yasser Arafat of Israel? And he said to them, these people have been there for us, okay? Whilst you guys, the USA, were supporting the apartheid government in our country, a government that's oppressed us, that beat us up, that unalived us. These people supported us. So just because today you're finding yourself in a seat with a camera doesn't give you the right to, you know, to set who should be our friends or not. Our friend or our friends. Your enemies are your enemies. They're not necessarily ours. That is very interesting, very similar to what President Museveni is saying. Because let me remind you here, just a while ago when the war in Ukraine started, the United States of America sent a lady from the Senate. I forgot what the name is. A black lady. They will usually send a black person, you know, because they don't want it to look racist. If they send a white person to tell you not to deal with anything or anybody, it looks, you know, very much paternalistic, like condescending. So in order to avoid that racist, you know, idea, they're going to always send you somebody that looks like you. You look at that, you know. They will always send you somebody that looks black. If it's something related to immigration, something related to your country shouldn't do that, they will send you somebody that looks just like you. Next one. By the way, before we go to the next one, I just want to encourage you to go visit Uganda. Uganda really is a very interesting place. Trust me, I'm not being paid to go to. Oh, matter of fact, if the tourism of Uganda want to pay me for that, then great. You know, reach out to me. I'm sure you know how to do. But you gotta go visit Uganda. Very interesting people. Lovely ladies. You wanna? I know you like nyash, right? You do like nyash. There's nyash and nyash. Nyash is quality, my brother. I'm not even joking. No, I don't know. I'm just kidding. I just see from the, you know, when you look at people walking, you know, you see the dress and stuff. But also the mannequins. You know what mannequins are? Mannequins are those plastic that you use as a sample for your clothes. You want to sell a clothes, you put it on the mannequin. Okay. The mannequins in Uganda don't look flat. They have nyash. Okay, so that's Ugandan culture. That's for the passport bro boys. Anyway, so for the ladies, yeah, Ugandan men are very good looking people. They're very composed. A lot of them are very intellectual. You are definitely not going to get lost. And also, Uganda have parties every single day. They have concerts. They have the beautiful side of Uganda. They have also the African side of Uganda. It's got to be something, you know. Uganda has a beautiful lake and so many activities. You can do boat riding. You can do jet skiing. Look at me on my jet ski. Beautiful place. You can also go to Kabale, which is a very interesting place that's got about, I think, a lake's got about 32 different islands. I think 32, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of islands, a lot of things to see. Well, let's see the next one. President Museveni talking quickly.
Japanese live up to the age of 79. That's the average life expectancy of Japanese. Why does God call Africans at 43? Is he lonely? What is his problem? 43, they will die. Then the priest will come. God has called him. God always calls you when but is God lonely? Why is he calling these people?
So, Mr. President is saying here that Africans die at 43 years old after drinking alcohol, having a messed up life. And then the priest will come and say, well, God has called him, it was time for him to go and stuff. In the meantime, Japanese are passing at 80 and more, later on, because they don't really drink alcohol like that. They don't really eat meat as much as we do. They mostly have a very clean life, not much interaction between men and women, which is not necessarily a good thing because the population is going south. But Japanese live long. So why is it only Africans that God calls so early? Is God lonely? That's the type of man that President Museveni is. Let's go to the next one.
The scripture union people were telling me that Matthew chapter 5, someone on the mount, if somebody hits you on this side, you turn the other one also. I said, sorry. Kwenda. I answered them. I said, do you remember when Jesus came to the Hekalu, to the temple, and he found people sitting in the temple? He was violent. He overturned the tables, and there's no record that he paid compensation. Because we, the traditional people here, we, the African tribes, we believed in the law of Moses. An eye for an eye. A tooth for a tooth. It is the Jesus part which came and said, no. Forgive unconditionally.
President Museveni doesn't believe if somebody slaps you on the cheek on the left side, you got to give him the right side. Well, I think I do agree with him because I'm going to uppercut your face until you swallow your tongue. Let me know how you feel about this, fellas. It's always a great pleasure. And tell me, when are you flying somewhere in Africa and visiting? I think it's going to open your minds. It's beautiful, seeing the next people, seeing the next culture. You don't necessarily have to agree with it. All you got to do is respect it. God bless.